utilizing the human capital that we have. I'd like to share with you, let me ask a question. The people that have in human resource management, have you looked at the employee engagement research that's been published quite recently? The Gallup polls, the Buckingham research, etc., around employee engagement. Has anyone seen that? No? Hey, that's something you really ought to want to be seeing. Do you realize that from the research that's been done, and this was late last year, it included India, that only, I think the figures were, only 15 to 20% of people employed in organizations are actively engaged in that organization. What we mean by actively engaged, if they have any discretionary time, it would be invested in furthering the interests. What percentage of people do you think were actively disengaged? They were really grumpy with the organization. They were actually sabotaging a lot of the work that the really engaged people were doing. What percentage do you think that was? Please, I'm looking for an answer. Can't hear you? It's real lonely up here. Sorry? Give me a guess. Folks, if you're looking at getting into the human resource management field, trust me, this is the sort of information and research that you should have on your fingertips. Okay? What the research showed, that around about 25% of people in organizations were actively disengaged. They hated their organizations, they didn't like their work. The balance of 50-60% were neutral. They didn't really enjoy going to work, but they didn't really hate going to work. What does this mean in terms of the productivity of those people? How productive do you think organizations are if we're looking at 25% of people are really grumpy and disengaged, and there's probably another 50% that are not terribly excited about their jobs? What implications, folks? I think it's fairly obvious. So, this is what I mean in terms of human resource management, being engaged in the business, adding value to the organization through things like managing performance, through developing leadership capability, through better problem solving, through engaging people, developing high performance teams. This is where human resource management is moving, and this is where you need to be moving as well. My last, concluding comment is many of the organizations that we talk with, one of the huge challenges in employing new people is these people do not ask questions, they wait to be told what to do. Please take the initiative, add value, use the wonderful capabilities that you have to get stuck in and make things happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron. Thank you very much. Let me. In fact, I just wanted to share this thing with you. Basically, many years back, when we ask business leaders or the employees on how do they see HRD as a function, used to be like that. Now, I remember people saying that, "Hum rahenge dur," HRD. Hum rahenge dur. That is the kind of perception carried by people. That's the kind of perception carried by people when we talk about HR as a function, versus in the last 3-4 months back, I was having a very detailed dialogue with one of the CEOs of a very established organization, asking the idea around human resource, the way that he would be looking at human resource as a function. It was a very, very revealing information which came up, saying that for a company, human resource is a function very next to the CEO. And a human resource professional should be a combination of finance, supply chain management, operations, marketing, you name it, all the functions that you can think of Because if the human resource professionals do not understand the business and the functions, what value they could add to the organization. So there is a different way of looking at human resource as a function, very powerful, and all my fellow panelists will agree that when it comes to people, it's not the responsibility of human resource people to manage people, but enable the managers to manage the people. How do they manage? How do you enable the managers, human resource professionals, manage the managers to manage people? So we will have a lot of questions around for you on behalf of the students. I'm sure that you will be sharing more. May I move to Vikram? Vikram, you will be talking about. Please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Vikram. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to the Dean and to Ty for giving us this opportunity. If it's okay, I'll just walk around a little bit. When we had that show of hands in the beginning, I was just saying international business, not a whole lot of hands. How many people know sort of what international business means? Anybody? I can come to you with the mic. Anybody? Yeah? Okay, you have an idea? All right. Go ahead.
International business means which internationally business is conducted, and all the international transactions and trading, which is
yeah. Okay, good. So you picked up on some points. Trading is important. Cross-border trade, export regulations, things like that. Where do you think international business professionals are most required? Anybody?
MNCs. Right.
Okay. So MNCs could be companies that are overseas companies operating in India. It could be Indian companies operating overseas. Sorry? Somebody said something? Okay, there's one other category which you probably not thought about, which anything? There's one other category, actually that's where I started my career, and that is large NGOs, for example, the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, places like that, which is typically where students, I don't think of international business. I started my career at an agency called the International Trade Center, which was sort of a branch of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and the WTO. So our job primarily was to facilitate and enhance international trade between countries, promote exports, things like that. So international trade, international business is a very sort of an up-and-coming field. I mean, it's been around for a while. The terminology has been around for a while. People are somewhat familiar with what is involved. It does involve a whole lot of expertise. So, you could be a specialist in finance, you could be a specialist in marketing, you could be a specialist in HR, you could be a specialist in any of the MBA-related fields. As long as, and it has been mentioned numerous times, as long as you're adding value to your position and able to identify opportunities cross-border. And that could involve, as was earlier described, identifying a target, for example, for some pharmaceuticals in Ranbaxy, or it could be, for example, identifying a new market opportunity for, I don't know, a kind of flavored bottled water that you might have come up with, or determining Coke's India entry strategy. It could be anything. So it encompasses and it sort of covers all your expertise that you may have accumulated during your MBA course. It also, very importantly, requires MBA students, BBA students, whoever's choosing that field, whoever's looking to get into that field, to develop strong communication skills, strong networking skills, apart from the other things such as Excel and modeling and all that, which those are the basic skills that you need to have. But essentially, it is about networking. It is about people. It is about identifying opportunities. It is about sitting right next to the CEO or the director of the firm and sort of determining where or what the next step should be in the company's growth. So There was a couple of hands that went up for international business. Can I see those hands? Okay. Can you talk about perhaps what you were thinking when you talk about international business?
So basically now the plan in my mind is that to make the exports, taking the imports and exports of the goods from internationally, from taking and sell those goods or my products to another country, to my country, through all the rules and regulations and all the basic requirements of the country.
Excellent. So he's talking about exports and imports. Exports and imports, of course, are very important for a country's GDP. You've probably heard a lot of numbers being floated around about India's exports and import numbers and where our GDP is going. Is there anybody else who has raised their hand about international business? Was anybody else? Yeah.
So I also think that for the country benefit also, that we should export more and more from our country. So my main plan is to set up an organization or a firm and start exporting. Currently my father is just in the domestic market, Indian market, and I want to export so that I can give benefit to my country also and my firm also.
Excellent. So what he touched upon was another point which we did not mention earlier, was it's not only multinational MNCs and large NGOs, but it is also entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their family businesses, right? That's a very good point. And I'm glad that somebody talked about entrepreneurship, because earlier when we had a show of hands, there was not that many entrepreneurs, but I'm encouraging and hoping that as the discussion moves forward, at least some of you will come up and talk about entrepreneurship. I've spent a lot of time in the SME, the small medium-sized business segment throughout my 15 odd years in career. So let's talk about entrepreneurship, let's talk about businesses, let's talk about international business, and let's talk about all the various specializations we're talking about. The reason I'm standing in the middle of you is because I feel most comfortable talking with students. I was a student myself not too long ago, so give it to me. Let's talk about it. Let's see how much information you can extract from us this morning. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Vikram. Actually, I know that it is very, very short and very crisp. I know you have many other areas to cover. Foreign currency investment services is part of international business. Yeah, so there are many things like that we will be talking about. Let's move on. We will have Baldeep. You may like to talk about operations or marketing or everything put together. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me just borrow the idea from Vikram to just stand up and probably address you guys. I'm extremely thankful and humble to be here this morning addressing you guys. Let me take the entire discussion from the area basically, or from the lens of the area that I represent, which is the e-commerce world. So I understand that you guys are probably not given the specialization in operation, but that's probably my bread and butter there in the e-commerce world. But I'll probably try to explain what does marketing as a function means to an e-commerce company. How many of you are avid online shoppers, by the way? Let me just see if this topic itself interests you. That few? Okay. I think, okay, I didn't see a lot of ladies raising their hands, though we have a lot of women shoppers also. Okay, great. So probably just to give some context into what I'm talking of, in the next maybe few minutes, I want you to probably visualize how does a marketing team in an e-commerce company would look like, basically. So you would probably get a sense of what are the different functions which marketing team has for an e-commerce company caters for, and perhaps maybe in the exhaustive sessions we can talk about the skill sets required to probably be able to do justice to those functions. In a sense, marketing here in Jabong addresses two basic channels. The online channel, which talks about the SEO. How many of you know what SEO means? SEO. What does that mean? Okay, great. And what does SEM means? SEM. Do you guys have any know-how? SEM. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think these guys have skipped the breakfast, so the time too early, or I can't hear you guys. SEM. Search engine management. Okay. Can anyone would like to probably take another dig at it? SEM. Okay, basically search engine marketing. We talked about search engine optimization as SEO. We have on the online world, we have some affiliate channels. We have the GDNs. Can anyone talk about what GDN means? I'm sorry. Can someone pass on the mics because I can't hear people? Okay, so GDN is basically the Google Display Network, and we have the IDN, the Yahoo Display Network. So it's in a sense the overall marketing efforts on the online world channelize on majorly these 4 or 5 different areas. Then it comes as the offline stuff, wherein we probably spend our efforts into releasing magazines. We probably tie up with, we promote events. Like for example, there was a recent Lakme Fashion Week conducted in Mumbai, wherein Jabong came out as the major sponsor. So in a sense, when we started off, I remember 2011, we wanted to be an aggregator of absolutely anything that we would be selling. But now gradually there is a course correction, and we want to probably be the fashion destination in India. And there is a curation everywhere. There is a curation of the marketplace, the inventory that we hold. There is a curation on the overall assortment that we say we are keeping. And this curation is in a sense helping us actually reach the vision of being the fashion destination in India. And every marketing effort which I talked about, either the online channel or the offline channel, is aimed at actually is making us reach there. Now let me just step back and probably give a basic sense of how operations is actually helping the company reach there. I'm basically handling 2 verticals in Jabong right now. One is the entire catalog management. So entire catalog is basically the 1.5 lakh products that you see on the website. And they go through a set sequence of processes that enable us to probably on a day-to-day basis enable us to add thousands of products on the website every day. So these processes are basically the photo shoots, the image editing, and the content writing. And all of these are part of operations today. And here, how we are helping company achieve the vision, wherein when I say the fashion destination of India, we probably come up with unique features. Like yesterday, we launched the video capability. I'm not sure whether the people who probably visit Jabong, they'll be able to relate to it that. There's this every SKU that we have on our website is going to have a video capability wherein the model will walk the ramp and we'll be able to see and probably see the entire stuff from a altogether different perspective. And this essence is basically on to creating a more niche fashion predominant image. And there are very few fashion players in the company and basically e-commerce fashion players in the company, and the closest competitor being Myntra only. So okay, let me just wind it up by saying operations do have a lot of role to probably play into making marketing achieve that vision of being of us being the fashion destination. And here, as I talked about, let me just sum up. Marketing is essentially categorized into 2 channels: the offline and the online world. Online is predominantly the online marketing, the GDNs, the YDNs, and the SEO and the SEMs. The offline world is predominantly the magazines or any other fashion events that we undertake to achieve the same vision of being the fashion destination in India. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Baldev. It's not a new area. I think a very interesting one. E-commerce is almost at the doorstep. Grab the opportunity, the first mover advantage. Baldev, you will be providing more insights into the whole thing. Thank you so much. May I request the versatile Anju? He can speak about marketing. He can speak about HR. Option is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian. So I guess Baldeep focused more on e-commerce. Let me just go back and talk more about marketing in general. So I guess most of you would know what 4 P's are of marketing, right? How many of you know Not everyone. Guys, come up. Okay, so can someone help me revise what are those 4 P's? Anyone? Yeah? Alright, so I guess hopefully most of you, all of you know. So I guess marketing, if you can talk like that, helps organizations manage those 4 P's. Just make sure you know what to sell, where to sell, whom to sell. So let's take for example, you know, any company. So you know, any company, just Coca-Cola maybe. Okay. So you know, who decides, for example, so how many brands does Coca-Cola have in India? Can you name a few? Sorry, at the back, yes.
Sprite,
Yeah.
Fanta, I know 2.
All right, I guess. So yeah.
Sprite, Thumbs Up, Minute Maid,
Kinley.
Kinley, Limca,
Quite a
Mazda.
few, right? Quite a few. So, and I guess you know what you guys need to understand is globally they will have a lot more, right? So they will have a few more which they don't sell in India. So you know one of the key functions marketing plays is you know deciding which brands, which products to sell in which country, which is the target segment. So you know, for example, take a company like, so I used to work at Nokia. You know, we will have a very clear idea of who would buy a, you know, for example, a Lumia 720 and who will buy a Lumia 520 and who will buy a Lumia 1520, for example. So you need to be very clear even before designing the product, what is the customer segment or which customers will buy which phone, and then develop a portfolio around that. So that is, you know, I guess core of marketing. How do you communicate the brand really clearly to customers so that they understand what the product will provide to them in terms of benefits. But you know, I don't want to talk about marketing. I want to actually talk about something else. So when you talk about marketing, there is another word which comes very closely with it. What is that? Yeah, so sales. Someone said sales. I think we sometimes forget, and you know, especially for you guys, because when you start working, you know, it's very rare for a MBA student to go out of college and get into a marketing job right away. You know, most of you would start, you know, in a sales job, right? You know that, right? If you don't know that, you know, please be very clear. It's very rare for anyone to just get into a marketing job. It takes time to get there. So what is sales? Selling the product. What else? That is obvious, selling the product. Yes, but what is involved in selling the product? You know, when you do sales, there is another person involved, right? The buyer, right? Or the customer or the client, right? So I think, you know, and, you know, given that the context is about choosing specialization and, you know, what you want to do in your career, you know, marketing or sales or whatever, you know, marketing operations, sales operations, you know, just be very clear that it's not about product and the company. You know, the key differentiator is that you are the face of the company to the person who actually pays the company money to buy their products. Okay, so that you know, I would almost call it courage. That courage to stand before someone else and talk about, you know, what you do and what you are selling, and, you know, almost persuade them to buy. I think that is what differentiates good marketing and sales people from, you know, say a finance guy or say a operations guy, who are more, you know, they are still obviously meeting a lot of people internally and all that, but the key focus is something else. The focus for marketing is not about products or places in that sense, but just being there, standing in front of someone else, talking about what the company does. And if you don't think you have that courage, you know, I think about something else. So that is one thing you must know. And I think in general, what you guys must think about, you know, when you are MBA students or whatever, business administration students, is, you know, think about finance and what Pankaj said, and think about what you heard about international business. So, for example, let me ask you a question. So, guys who are interested in finance, why should a company hire you and not a chartered accountant, for example? Or, for example, in HR, why hire an MBA student and not a psychology guy, maybe? That's what most international locations, that's what happens. The psychology guys are the guys that get into HR more than, MBA students that way. Or for example, sales, I would say, why not hire a mathematics graduate and why hire a, MBA? Have you asked yourself that question? I think the answer is, I don't know, each one of you will have your own answer, but I think in some sense it will all revolve around how much you understand businesses. And a lot of people here have talked about understanding the business. I think the specialization is important, but what is also important is how much do you understand how businesses work, what is cash flow, where does money come from, to do a business, how do you create products, how do you sell them in the market. If you don't really understand those things, you are not really a business administration guy, and that will limit where you can get in your career. So, I think you still have a lot of time here in college. Try and use that time, get a better understanding of how businesses work. Different businesses work very differently, and I think that will get you places, sometimes more than technical knowledge of subjects. Okay, so I will leave at that, and we'll talk about that more in our next session.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. In fact, a very, very, very fascinating function is marketing. It's all about creativity, building brand, thinking globally. In fact, thinking globally is something that immediate thing is you were talking about different brands, and when Pepsi wanted to launch their product in China, they went ahead with that brand Pepsi, and that was a very, very bad decision for Pepsi, because Pepsi in Chinese language has a different meaning altogether. It is all about bite the wax, bite the wax of tadpole, that larva of a frog. That's actually the Chinese meaning of Pepsi. So global thinking is required. Marketing people bring that insights into the whole thing. This was a very interesting session so far. We have so many questions to ask all the panelists. Now this next 30 minutes, the time that we have, is going to be the very, very important moment of your career decision making point. I think I urge you, I request you to put all your energy, stand up and ask your question, right? If you do not ask questions, you are actually missing a big opportunity out here. The depth